Welcome to Always Ageless, where we celebrate living life to its fullest at any age. We share inspiring stories of amazing people achieving incredible things and having great adventures. We also dive into the latest technology, tools, and trends to make sure that your life is more enjoyable, fun, and comfortable. So whether you're 35 or 85, with or without the challenges of getting older or taking care of aging parents, we have something for everyone. When I first came up with the idea of having Always Ageless radio show, I knew I wanted to have a show for everyone, adults as well as their children. Anyone who's listening would enjoy what we have to share. And while we were helping adults, helping people come up with solutions to make sure their lives are enjoyable, but also I wanted to celebrate the lives of amazing people who are accomplishing incredible things in the older part of their life. Today's guest is exactly what I had in mind. When I first became aware of her, I thought to myself, that is exactly who I want on my Always Ageless show. That is my ideal person. I called her, I reached out to her and I called her and I asked her if she would be our guest. And when she said yes, I was almost screaming in my car. And I called my friends, I called my assistant. I said, she said yes, she said yes. So is with my absolute pleasure that I introduce you today to Linda Goldman, the founder of Sages, which we'll talk about, Plays with Purpose, which we'll talk about, president and co-founder of Sages Theater, Inc. Welcome, Linda. I'm
Thank
just
you
going to
so
tell
much.
our visitors how I first came aware of you. Somehow, and I don't watch it regularly, but somehow across my computer, my iPhone one day came across the Kelly Clarkson show, which I never watch, I'm sorry to say. And you were on it. And you were there as a what she calls a rad human. And I listened to you and I saw you and that is my person. I've got to have her on my show. So I'm ecstatic. Thank you so much for sharing your time. And I do want to tell our audience that you came in the middle of a storm. You weren't sure that you would even have power or internet today. So we're especially glad that you could be with us today. I just want to tell people a little bit about you, that you became a playwright at 70, which when you wrote about senior living in America, that was your first experience writing. And then you co-founded Seniors Actor Guild Sages, which we'll talk about. And your path in your journey is so exceptional that I just feel like I would be doing you a disservice by trying to tell this story myself. So I'm just going to let you get started and tell us, first of all, what brought you up to the theater and playwright part of your life.
Well, no one could be more surprised than me, Valerie. I had other than I lived in New Jersey and went into New York to see Broadway shows, that was it. But in retirement, I started an Adults at Leisure group and I formed theater parties, buying blocks of tickets, and then we go out to dinner and talk about the shows. And I always wanted to keep it as inexpensive as possible. So it would be lunch matinees and community theater, which is very good. We have great community theater. But I wasn't seeing stories of seniors on stage. And the people that I dealt with were remarkable. They came through so many things in their lives and overcame estrangement within families and loss and negative things, and yet they came in and smiled, and they still wanted to enjoy life, and they still wanted to learn, and they still wanted to be part of something bigger than themselves. And I thought they were really cool, but where was our stories on stage? They'd be a minor role, or this. I have to tell you about the play that pushed me over the edge.
Please do.
It was a comedy, and laughter is good. Okay, I have nothing against laughter, but this had the female actor in ripped up stockings and raggedy looking clothes and a cane, and she was trying to hit people.
Oh,
And there was another senior who someone was chasing around the stage. The person chasing her was dressed like a dog catcher with a net and was trying to nab her like a mongrel dog of some sort. And everyone was laughing, but I was burning up. I was furious at being represented that way. So
Yeah.
I said out loud to my companion, I could write a better play than that. And I did. My first draft, I would say, took 2 weeks because I was so determined to tell the reality of senior living that yes, we have challenges, but we can overcome them. We still want to love and laugh and learn and be part of this world, and we were being sidelined. So I found even in my regular life, sort of, I was at another nonprofit, but a membership one. And I had entered the foyer and it was empty. And the president of that organization said, well, we have trouble getting volunteers to be greeters in the foyer. And I said, I have excellent people that would help this. And he said to me, no, we don't want people to open the door and the first thing they see is an old person.
Oh,
That was it. And I said, you're not only going to see us, you're going to hear us front and center on stage.
oh my gosh, I can't even imagine.
I know. So, one person, I could, insult him back, but that doesn't change the view out there of aging. It's very negative, and it shouldn't be.
No, should
So,
not.
so now I make sure that our roles, there are seniors in the lead roles, and everyone enjoys the shows, particularly grandchildren who come with a grandparent. But seniors are featured and our challenges. And that first one that I wrote was Grandma Goes Off Her Rocker. And this was about a woman who had lost her husband maybe 10 years prior, tried to hold on to the house, but finally she moves in with her daughter, her adult daughter, the husband, and a granddaughter.
Oh, I
So,
can only imagine.
yes. So, and the son-in-law likes his mother-in-law, but living with them, where is the privacy for the husband and wife? And then there's the grandchild who becomes a special favorite of her grandma living there. And she sees her grandma kind of fixing up to go out with her girlfriend to the movie. And she said, wow, Grandma, you look really nice. I've never seen you wear that blouse before. Is it new? And the grandmother's really reluctant to say things about why she has a little makeup on and a nicer blouse. And just as she's about to close her purse up, the granddaughter says, if I didn't know better, Grandma, I think you had a date. And that's it. She knocks the purse off her dresser. Shh, don't say it. Shh, shh, be quiet. I don't want your mother to find out. She would be upset.
Sure.
I should be doing volunteer work, not dating.
Yes.
And so the granddaughter becomes a conspirator,
Oh,
and
a co-conspirator, of course, in the
yes,
story.
a co-conspirator, and the grandma, her name is Rose. She does meet a sweetheart from her youth,
Oh,
who moved back to town because he had lost his wife and had said he wanted to meet
oh,
her. So
oh,
she did,
what a great
and
story.
they ended up going to like a pancake house and talking all night long. They had so much to catch up on, and there was still that same feeling of the roof caved in on me when I see this guy, even though we're both older. So she rushes home like 6 o'clock in the morning, flies in the house, and gets into bed quickly before the kids get up. But a neighbor saw her and
Oh,
asks the husband when he's out there in the yard doing some yard work, is there something wrong with your mother-in-law? And he tells him she came running up the driveway, and I'm just concerned. So the daughter thinks she got lost and couldn't find her way
oh,
home.
oh, oh, she must have
So
Alzheimer's. Yeah, must have
yes,
dementia, right? Of
she's
course.
dizzy. So she sits her mother down. We're going to have this conversation about giving up driving and things like that. And it's just a misunderstanding. The mother really doesn't want to reveal anything, but the truth does come out eventually, and the daughter has to accept the fact that her mother is an independent woman and entitled to her own life and choices. And if she wants a relationship, that's how it is. My mother didn't do this. My grandmother didn't do this. They were widows. I'm in a new relationship, so and engaged. So life has changed, and I just
and being older doesn't mean that you're really elderly either. And I think there's two terms that people get mixed up about when they talk about people that are older, don't you? They think elderly, and I'm going to start a phrase that says, "You can call me anything, but don't call me elderly." But that's a great story. So that was your first play.
It was, and I had it performed with help from a director, but I thought it was one and done. However, after the play was, so many people rushed up to me to say, "You've got to go further with this. This is my story. I had this with my kids," and or a brother-in-law said, "Why did you let mom go out with him?" Things like that. And so I was invited to put it on again. So I thought, well, I should sound a little more professional than just, "You like my friend Linda, she wrote a play," you know. So I started as an LLC, Senior Actors Guild and Education Services, because right off the bat, I didn't want my plays to just be for amusement. I wanted us to raise awareness on these issues. So when you see the play, you leave and you go out to dinner like many do, but you are talking about the play, not about how's your roast beef, you know?
Yeah. So tell me, how did you get people to come to your first play? You said you had like hundreds of people who came.
Yes, yes.
How
Well,
many came?
About 100. Now, what I did was, this was a matinee, and this was done actually at my temple, and I cooked up pots of soup and salad, so they had a lunch that food always attracts them. I put out food and they will come.
Sure.
So that's how I got them. And then others, when they wanted me to take the play to where they were, of course, they had their own groups that they wanted to come see it. And I founded that LLC. I was a little nervous because it cost money, and this was my retirement funds. I was completely self-funded to do this, and I would say the first year I lost $5,000. The second year I lost $5,000. Third year only $2,500.
Well, that's better. That's an improvement.
The fourth year, and several plays later, the fourth year, I actually turned a profit. But that's when I decided that I wanted to give it up and work with my partner Christine as a nonprofit. And our plays, the play went beyond telling the senior story to being a play with purpose.
Yeah. So how did you come up with the name? So you created Sages, correct?
Yes.
And how did you come up with that name?
I just did, and I thought, gee, isn't that clever? Because it came out to be like smart people. And we are intelligent.
Well, when I first heard it, I thought it had something to do with ages. And that
really?
Yeah, that's what I thought. When I first saw it, I thought, oh, it's like ages, but sages. And I thought it was like stage for ages. Is what I thought. So I thought that was brilliant. Then when I found out you actually call it, so you created this, it's your initial company.
Initially as the LLC by myself.
So now it's Senior Actors Guild and Education Services.
It still is, but we only use SAGES, the acronym SAGES Theater,
of course,
Inc. as the nonprofit. And our very first play, Christine, that's my partner, she asked me to write a play about fall prevention. And I said, oh dear, well, I smiled at her and I'll think about it, you know. And I went to a meeting and I found out it's the leading cause of injuries and death for older adults like us. And our particular county, Pinellas County, Florida, every year 25,000 calls go to 911 to help a senior who fell.
Is that right?
Yes, and sometimes there are ambulances that have to come from out of county to help with an accident. So this is a very, very serious problem, not only for our seniors, of course, it affects the whole community because these resources have to go to helping seniors falling, and then they're not available for other people.
Yeah, yeah.
And what can happen is a domino effect from a fall. You might not die from the fall itself, but it leads to other things, hospitalization. One man came down with sepsis, and he died not from the fall, but it put him in the hospital, things like that. And we collaborate with 911, and here it's fire rescue that sends the ambulances. So we connected with them and our area agency on aging, and we put it on the play on at a major theater, and almost 500 people came. Now
that was your second play?
No, I wrote, well, as when I was my own
because the first one was Grandma Fell Off Her Rocker, right?
That was my first one. I also wrote Committed, which is about a couple who retire, and all of a sudden they find out they have different purposes for retirement, and there's some friction that has to be resolved. And I also wrote Get in the Game, and that's about someone leery, afraid to take that risk to try a new relationship, and has to be pushed by her friends, but it works out very well.
Oh, that's I'm sure that was a wonderful story.
But she said, what do I tell my granddaughters? I have a boyfriend. This man is 65 years old. My boyfriend? We don't have the language. Really, we don't have the language.
No, we don't. I've told my husband, I said, I don't want anything to happen to you, first of all, because I love you, of course. But second of all, I would have to date an old man because that's my age, right? And all of a sudden, the reality of my age was like, oh my gosh.
It's shocking when I'm in a relationship now, but he wanted to take me to the seashore and a hotel. I had to go for counseling before I could agree to that, because I have granddaughters. What will they think of me if I go off with a man I'm not married to? I don't want them to do that.
No, that's hysterical.
Yeah.
So tell us. So you started Sages, right? Mm-hmm. And that's when you paired up with
Christine. She came to see. We were putting on another play I wrote, Dealmaker, about it might be time to give up the car keys. But the Dealmaker
that's a serious topic. Yeah,
yes, it's a grandfather who makes deals because he wants you to be hush hush about this fender bender. So he's the deal maker. But he does get outed, and things have to be discussed. Anyway, she came to the auditions for that and met me. And she was so enthused about the script, the reality of the script, that's when she talked to me and said, you must write about fall prevention. And a year later, I actually said, that's a challenge. How do I make a play interesting, funny, dramatic, and succeed in getting across a message? So it took a while. First, when I write a play with purpose, we do staged readings of it, and then we get feedback from the audience, and then I edit it.
Yeah.
And then we do a performance, and we get feedback from the performance, and I make edits based on what the audience is telling me. And after about 3 years, a play is more or less finished. It might be pencil changes, but it takes a while, and that feedback is so important. And I don't want to see the ones that say, oh, it was a great show, I loved it. I want to see the ones that are critical. It was good, but, I want to know that. That's how I improve. That's how we all improve, by looking at criticism as valuable.
Absolutely. So let's talk about how you find so now you're a full-fledged performing group, correct?
Yes, we are a full nonprofit. We started in 2019 as a nonprofit. Um, we had less than $2,000. And
Well, a
now,
lot of us start that way.
and yes, and over the 5 years, it's just phenomenal. The interest, just as you were saying, the interest in this. So then I was asked, please write a play about scams that target
Oh,
seniors.
absolutely.
So I researched with the FTC and our own police. I did an interview with a senior resources officer, 2 hours, and I came home and cried. What people do
Oh,
to steal the money
oh,
from this person who cannot replace it
no,
at their
no.
age. So I said, yes, I've got to write this play, and that's Phony Baloney. And Phony Baloney is very popular. It
I'm sure.
it shows the how the scam takes place and how smooth people are. And it's not a matter of being smart. Many people think, well, I wouldn't fall for a scam. I'm smart. You know, that's for somebody else to get this information. But it's not about being smart. Valerie, it's about being informed.
It is.
Scams are very tricky and they
They
keep
are very,
evolving.
very.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's
I mean, I got calls yesterday from someone trying to convince me that my, they knew my social security number, which they knew much more of it than what I had hoped they would, but scams are
Mhm.
absolutely the case. So tell me, how do you get who performs in your plays?
Well, the premise right from the get-go, from when I first started, was going to be senior actors. We do hold open auditions.
You do.
I knew a lot of people in community theater at this point because I was taking these groups. So when you buy 25 tickets to a show, they take note of who you are and the people you have. So I did have some actors, but we always also have some newbies, people who want to try acting, or maybe they did in high school and loved it. And they
Yeah.
try out. They're open auditions. They'll try out for the parts, and we seem to always end up with somebody new.
Is that
And
right?
one of my new people, she started in my last play as myself, and that was a corset line, and she was a dancer. She is now the leading person in this play we're doing in September. She has the lead role, and she's in her 80s, and she's phenomenal. And if I hadn't given her that chance, who
She
knows the
wouldn't, she
talent
wouldn't.
that someone has. Just if you're afraid to audition at open auditions, shame on you. Go ahead, give it a good try.
So you have open auditions and you
Yes.
choose then your actors, and you probably have a few backups just in case. And then are you always the director of these shows?
Oh, I am never the director.
Oh, you're not.
No, I write the play and edit it as needed, but the director is the person who takes control, selects the cast. Now, to be honest, they usually confer,
I'm sure.
with me and Chrissy, but they put the flesh and blood on stage and bring this play to life. And I'm always mindful of that I write words on paper, but these actors, these senior actors and that director, they brought it to such life that we have had people gasp when something bad happened. They don't want their friend to fall, for example. Don't do it. And they start out knowing their actors is fake, but
Mm.
somehow as time goes by, their perspective changes. This is my friend. She looks like me. He looks like me. They said things I've said, done things I've done. Look at what happened. They didn't change a light bulb. They fell. And now, okay, it's just a broken arm. But then with a cast, you're off balance, and then there's another fall. And
Something I thought of when I was listening to you is that a lot of times in theater or performance at all, we truly are actors. We're acting out the role of something we don't do every day.
mm,
We are a hero, or we're a dancer, or we're falling in a love story, or whatever, right? That's our role as an actor. But in your plays, these people are actually living that life, right?
yes,
These are older
yes,
people who face these challenges every day. Do you
mhm.
find that helps you in finding actors? Do you think it helps your audience in relating? I'm sure I would think that it does, that they know those people are the same as me. What
Oh,
kind of reactions do
absolutely.
you get from your performers as they
Well,
are living through this on stage?
it's an interesting observation on your part because I'm thinking of one actor in particular who's been in community theater for 8 or more years. And he said, I always did it for the applause, but now I don't do it for the applause. I do it for the people in the audience to
Oh,
get
how
something
interesting.
out of it. Instead of me getting applause, I want them to get this message. So they really take it to heart. Phony baloney, they take it to heart. They don't want anyone scammed. So they put their all into these shows. They're
So
really
along with that, then you have sages, but you also have plays with a purpose. A plays with a purpose is a part of sages, I'm
yes,
assuming.
yes. Every play we do as Sages Theater Inc. is a play with purpose. That Denying Gravity on fall prevention, Phony baloney on scams. Now I did rewrite Dealmaker to be a play with purpose. Now our plays with purpose are limited to an hour. My previous plays were like an hour and a half. So these are limited to 60 minutes because we don't want anyone to be tired. It's always on a weekend, so there's no commuter traffic to deal with. It's a matinee at 2 o'clock, so there's no daylight driving. And if you're walking, there's sidewalks, you can see where you're going. So we do that, and then afterwards we leave 30 minutes. That's optional with a Q&A with an expert speaker on the subject. Like with the Denying Gravity and fall prevention, the fire chief was so pleased when he would give a presentation on fall prevention. Maybe 5 people would show up. We had 500.
Yeah,
And
that's
he
amazing.
could address that many people, and they're warmed up. They
Yeah.
saw this can happen to me. I saw, and the main character's name is Claire. I saw her. She actually, fakes it, but it's a fall on stage. And that can happen to me. It happened to her. It can happen to me. She looks just like me.
Yes.
So when I greet as many people as I can as they leave, and I'd have people, I can't wait to get home and make changes in my house to reduce my risk. And I'm going to tell my friends. I had one woman call me months later after that particular show, and she repeated a line of dialogue almost word for word. And it was, using a cane or walker for balance does not make me look weak. It makes me look wise.
I
And
love that quote. Yes, I heard that somewhere. So tell it to us again, so everyone who's listening or seeing this can hear that.
it's really, really important that using a cane or walker for balance does not make me look weak. It makes me look wise. I mean,
Right.
we wear eyeglasses to aid us to see. We may need hearing aids to aid us to hear. Why won't you use this cane? Why are canes embarrassing? They shouldn't be. That shows you're
Absolutely.
smart, you're
Absolutely.
intelligent.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my mom is 104 and she still doesn't want to go anywhere in a wheelchair. She'll use a
Huh?
walker or a cane,
Okay.
but she won't use a wheelchair, even if it means she could go somewhere. So I understand that. So how are you funded? Who pays for this? It's
What's free?
amazing to me that all of your performances are free to people. Is
Yes.
that true?
The performances are free admission, but yes, we have costs. These
Of course.
venues, they have costs, so they can't give it to us for free. So it costs us about an average of $7,000 to put on a performance. So I do most of the grant writing, and it's difficult because there's such needs out there,
Sure.
and so frequently it's for children
Yes.
and other needs.
Yes.
But we have been successful. And Christine, my partner, she's kind of the business end of that too, beyond, you say I do grants, but she seeks sponsors who donate. And really, though, it's the individual, the single person that comes and puts $5 in the can as they leave, or a couple
Oh,
of dollars, whatever they can. We accept donations at every show. And it's really the donations from people that keep us going, and also the demonstrated proof. And I'm sorry to talk so much about denying gravity, but 911 has recorded that there are fewer calls for falls wherever we perform this show. So it has an impact. It's theater is emotional. So if you hear something and you're in an emotional state, you remember it much better than somebody saying, now you should do this so you don't fall. But when you're emotionally engaged, it can say it stays with you.
Yes,
So
that's true. Well, it's kind of like most things, it's visual also, right?
oh
Many of us
yes.
learn more and better if we're visual. And so I think it goes along with that. You hear it, you're visual, and then you have the sessions afterwards where you sit and have a discussion session afterwards, which to me is really amazing. What a creative thought, and yet how useful, because people who've seen that, then they might want to discuss it, like kind of react to that.
Yeah, it's optional, but yes, it's amazing, the people. And when we do for Sages, when we do phony baloney, one of the biggest problems is people our age don't want to reveal that they've been scammed.
No.
It's an embarrassment. But when we do our play, people in the audience stand up and say, I lost $5,000 in a grandparent scam. And all of a sudden, the whole audience realizes that's a normal person. Just
They're
like
not alone. Yeah. Yeah.
They're not stupid. And in our play, we include several different scams like that. And we've been working with the local police take the stage. We've even had like people from the state attorney's office come, because we draw a crowd of the age of people they want to touch base with.
Yes.
And they can't. Yes. So here they have a theater of 100 or more seniors who are warmed up to the topic. Oh, at the end of Phony Baloney, the actual police or the volunteers, I think one was an FBI agent, they arrest the scammers. And
they
the
do.
sirens are going,
everybody's happy and cheering, right?
Yeah, so cheering or even with 9 Gravity, when the EMS people come on and the lights go up and we applaud our heroes, and we get to say thank you to these people that give to the community. So then after that, one of the tough ones, Dealmaker, very delicate subject about cognitive impairment in driving. It's not about age, it's about ability. If you are able to drive, you should drive. But if you are, if it's not safe for you, and the Florida Highway Patrol, they take the stage when we do that show.
They do.
Yes, they want to talk to these seniors, and here we've presented them, and when we've shown them there are alternatives to preserve a measure of independence without driving. We plan ahead, like financially, with pensions and this and that, but we don't plan ahead for when we can't be able to drive.
No, we don't.
We don't think about. We think we're not aging. We see ourselves every day. We don't realize that we are aging, but we can still make accommodations, and continue with independence. I have now loaded Uber and Lyft on my phone. So it's just a smart thing to do, and get my eyes examined. It's a smart thing to do. So that helps. Our newest play is Memory Lane, and that's about memory loss. And I did my research and covered the 5 major causes of memory loss, and even developing into dementia. But the play is for caregivers, and it shows different scenarios. By the way, these have a lot of comedy in these.
I'm sure they do.
They do. They do.
I'm sure they do.
I always try to throw in surprises and comedy to lighten it. So, but the first time we did Memory Lane as a stage reading, I thought, I'll just put the caregiver support group at the very end, because no one's going to want to, have that. And the response was, we want more education. We want to know more about the signs of these different types of
Yeah, of course.
illness. And so I had to rewrite the whole play to emphasize the warning signs and how to deal with it and all and those things. And so now we are actually performing the play. It's no longer stage reading. We're at the performance stage this year. And we get the most feedback ever on this play. I think so many people are touched by caregiving in a caregiving role.
By caregiving, and also challenges with the mind, you know, with dementia, Alzheimer's,
yes.
and so forth.
Yes.
And don't you think that a lot of it is awareness? So, for example, I think that for a long time, Alzheimer's wasn't, first of all, there weren't as many of us older people still alive this long.
Right.
I think that's one issue.
Longer.
The number of us has increased. Over 11,000 people become 65 every single day. That's
Amazing.
a lot of people. So we are a larger portion of the population than ever before. So therefore, because there are more of us, issues are more, you know, we become more aware of these issues. And because of that, and I think people don't know what to do about it. They see it. We talk about it more than we used to talk about it, right? Rather than just hide somebody in a corner,
yes.
all of those things.
Yes.
Where do you get your funding? If you're a nonprofit, I think you told me that the day after we air this program, that you have a fundraiser coming up. Is that correct?
Oh, yes. We have a fundraiser, August 20th. It's the Golden Heart Awards. And people around the community, usually businesses, they nominate someone who goes out of their way, age 50 plus, who goes out of their way for an award in various categories like advocacy or things like that. And that's just $25, but also people will make donations, and it's a fun party. All the names are recognized who was nominated. Only one person will win in each category.
Of course.
But it's an honor, and they bring their friends, so more people. They do buy tickets for, because that is a fundraiser. But last year we were able to bring in, I believe it was $8,000. So this year's be our second year, and we're hoping to increase that a little bit, because as I said, one production is the average of $7,000 in costs.
I know. Well, we certainly hope that the viewers and listeners of this show will become aware of it, and that we may have viewers and listeners in Florida, certainly in our social group, will be able to expand this into that area. So then tell me, do you happen to know the average age of your actors?
Of our actors, well, they range in age of 50 to 92.
You do have a 92-year-old.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It's about ability.
Sure.
It's not age, it's ability. So we're remarkable. I love them. I love them all.
What advice would you give to seniors who would like to do more with the arts and either aren't brave enough to go do it or aren't confident enough to think that they can contribute, but would like to participate in theatrical or other arts efforts?
It's a great question. First of all, for girls anyway, if you played with dolls as a girl, you were a playwright. You were creating scenarios and
interesting
dolls acted out in. So you're a natural playwright. We also started a readers theater, and people have contributed their own short plays. Now, these are not an hour long. These are maybe 10 minutes long on a senior topic. And we're going to be having those plays that they wrote that were selected. There were maybe, I don't know how many were submitted, but we selected these, and we call it soaps because it's short one-act plays for seniors. And I've been in touch with the authors. I've given them suggestions on their scripts. For many of them, it's the first play they've ever written.
And soaps, I love that name. I just wrote it down. It's a great name.
Yeah. So, and I told them, it's your play, but consider this. You don't have to. It's your play. It's still a good topic. One is about an estrangement between a father and a son when his wife, the mother of the son, died.
Oh,
They went through the grief in a different time span. The dad saw his wife was no longer his wife, like maybe the year before she died. She no longer knew him.
oh,
He went through this grief process, but the son, this is his mother. She looks like his mother. She's always going to be his mother.
yes.
And so he was in a different place and was able to move on in another relationship. And the son was so angry he didn't talk to him for 6 years. And I think
Oh,
it's based on something that this man has experienced himself because it's his first play.
and so
Another one,
what do you do with the soaps? Are those performed?
yes, they'll be formed. They'll be performed at two different senior centers, one in our South County, South Pinellas County, and one at a senior center at our North Pinellas County. And this is going to be a lot of fun for them. And I think it gets them writing more. I mean, when I wrote my first play, I thought it was one and done, and I never stopped writing. So
Of
maybe
course,
they will too and
I
contribute their
see that.
stories.
And you've been on national TV, and I checked on you yesterday, and you've been interviewed multiple times. So look what change that's made to your life.
Who would have thought?
Who would have
I
thought? And what if you hadn't done it? What if you hadn't stepped out and done it?
right,
I think
right.
about what if you hadn't been at that play that night and whatever happened just pushed your button
Mhm.
and you hadn't gone forward and taken action on it.
Yeah.
And what a difference you've made to so many people, your performers and the people who've organized it, and the directors and the people who've listened to us. Linda, I want to know, can you share a memorable story or some feedback from a senior or an audience member that you could say was really moved or it affected their life somehow because they had either participated in or been in the audience of one of your plays?
Well, so many of them have. We have an older man. He took the role of a narrator, and then somewhere along the line, a woman took a role, and now they are a couple, and they serve as ambassadors for Sages. In fact, today, our original time to meet. I had a 1 o'clock meeting with a group, and I asked them to go instead, and they were successful. We got a $2,000 grant.
Oh
Uh,
my goodness. Well, that's
yeah,
great.
and they are no longer two separate people alone. They have companionship and love because of Sages and being part of it. And you don't have to be on stage. We have people who help backstage. They like that. We have people who usher, and they like helping others get in and out of the theater and help thank them for coming. We have people who stuff goodie bags. We have, stage moms and dads who have fried food. It
Yeah.
takes a village to produce a
Oh,
play.
it does. Absolutely. Yes, I'm sure.
It
I'm
takes a
sure.
lot of people working very hard, and we don't have a building. We take the play to different locations, so we have to set up and then pack up when we're done and move on. So, and that saves us money to not have our own theater, but we want to bring it as close as possible to the people. And some of those grants that we're getting now are to provide small buses to bus people from different places who
Um,
it's not close enough, but this would bring them there so they can come to our plays, and that we pay for too. We don't want cost to be a barrier to anyone
no.
to come to our show. The purpose, the message is too important to miss.
And that's a great thing. I can appreciate that, how important it is to have people transported there and how sad it would be if they didn't have the opportunity to come just because of the transportation. Tell
Mhm.
us where you have performed these.
Well, we 3 counties. We're in the Tampa Bay area, and
Okay.
there's 3 different counties. We are located in Pinellas County, which is along the shore, along the Gulf of Mexico. So most of our work is there, but we do North County, Central County, South County. have to have big venues now because we've become so popular. We can't do like a small venue anymore.
Is that right? So what's about the size that you need when you look for a
Well, we
location?
have to have it at least 100 people. So there are some places that like a credit union may have a meeting room,
Okay.
but it's not big enough for 100
Yes,
people
right.
to
No,
come.
no,
Yeah,
no.
so it's difficult, and we have to fit in with their schedule
Right. Yep.
because these venues bring in, entertainment. There, some of them are city owned, and their purpose is to bring in money for the city. So we have to pay too, but they try and have afternoon, evening, every possible time, something going on there to bring
So
in
do you
money.
perform in like 2 different cities or 3 different cities?
Oh, yes, 3 or 4 different cities. Next month, September, which is autumn and fall, it's fall prevention month. So that's when we do our fall
Oh, okay.
prevention play.
All right.
In March, it's National Consumer Fraud Awareness Month. So we do phony baloney.
Bologna.
May is Older Americans Month. We're doing Memory Lane. And then, others we can do at different times. But yeah, so this one is going to be in September, and we are starting out north in the next county north of us. And then we have shows in Pinellas. Then we also go into Tampa, which is Hillsborough County.
Sure.
And we have requests to go further, but we really can't. However, on our website, there are kits available with the scripts.
And that is my next question. Let's talk about that. I think that is brilliant. In fact, I'm probably going to be your next customer. So tell us about how you can spread this. I'm fascinated.
Well, that would be wonderful if you have listeners who are interested, because there's community theater groups all over the country, and so we have a kit that has well, there's one that's simply just a video, and people can use that if they want to have a discussion on this topic, and they run it and stop it. But we also have a kit that includes the scripts with it, and director's copy, and the video. And we're always available for questions. We want people to do this around the country. Now there is a cost for that, but it's I think a nominal cost when you
the cost for the scripts, right? For the director's kit.
Yeah, there's a cost to us to do this, and a cost for the postage and
sure,
whatever.
And if they buy more than one, do you sell them as a group, or you pretty much sell them one at a time?
We basically sell them one at a time because it's kind of like licensed.
Oh, I see. Sure.
Copywritten, copyright status for it. So, but we would love to see other groups doing this around the whole country, because it's, like you say, the American population, the senior population is growing, and we have to stay well. Yeah, it's great to live longer, but we have to stay well. Physically, financially, mentally, we have to have it.
And I haven't heard of anyone that's doing anything like this. Have you? Do you know of any other?
No.
You are the only ones.
So far as I know, I did learn of something slightly similar where interviews were done, and then actors took the role of the person being interviewed, but it wasn't a play. It wasn't a.
No, it wasn't the same. No,
Yeah,
I
think this is the same thing.
I think this is just absolutely brilliant. So what are your hopes for Sages, and where would you like it to grow to be?
It's ironically, that's why I gave up my LLC, even though I achieved success. I turned a small profit, so I did, okay, but I want this to outlive me. I want this to grow and help others, just knowing that I may be helping someone I may never meet, may never know.
Oh, I'm sure.
But who gets to do that? You do on your show and your radio program.
Well, thank you,
but having that blessing of helping others and doing something I love, writing plays. I love it.
Absolutely. So,
I do have my notes for one on ageism, by the way, and include some of that, as I told you, where it was told, no, we don't want to see an old person.
and do you have some other plays planned? Do you have thoughts for others that you'd like to do?
Oh, it's constant. Now that I have struggled through moving, and most of us, as we age, we will move, or may, like I say, my grandma had a Rose had to move in with her daughter. She couldn't keep the house up individually.
Yes.
Too expensive homeowners insurance and repairs.
Well, especially in Florida, there's insurance issues like here in California.
You're not kidding.
We have a few of those. And your rainstorm yesterday probably didn't help.
Oh, here in Florida, it was awful. Over 500 people had to be rescued. Even though it wasn't officially a hurricane here, the flooding was high tide and so much rain. Yes, 500 plus people had to be rescued from their homes. They were, and so many people have lost everything. The water came so high, furniture.
I saw some pictures. I saw some pictures.
So, yes, there's an endless number of topics for seniors. But I do want to encourage through our Readers Theater program and SOAPs to encourage other writers. I'm getting older and tired.
Oh, no, no,
I love it. I love it.
No,
Once
you'll
I
never
start
be
writing,
tired.
I forget
No.
about it. You know,
No.
I just keep going. And I find it very difficult. But I'm very encouraged by seeing the creativity of other people.
Yes.
And I want them to be successful.
We have just a couple minutes. And so I want to, first of all, thank you again for being here. I, first of all, absolutely love the idea. Growing up, I was on stage a lot as a little girl, and I always wanted to be in little theater. And I got involved in real estate in my career and my family, and that never came to be. But certainly the opportunities are available here in Southern California. There's plenty of places here. So when I saw your story and I saw your play kits, I thought, I messaged several of my friends. I said, I've got to do this. I just have to do this. And I have a friend actually in the Midwest who I called her and I said, you're the other person I know who could pull this off. I said, you have to do this. So there's a couple of us that are thinking about it. But the other thing is that, you know, we talked about, I've heard people talk about revealing age, and then a lot of times we don't want to talk about our ages. And that's something that's been brought up in your plays so much. And I just thank you so much for the people who you haven't heard from, but who you touched, and people who were maybe too shy to admit they had been scammed, or people who realize that they need to give up their car keys, or the people who realize that that living with their child or with their parents brings a different dynamic, and they need to apologize or be sympathetic or have patience with them or have grace with them in a different way. People that need to understand that when the phone rings, it could be a scam. It's not your grandchild.
Yes, we say caller unknown, don't answer the phone. Let it go to voicemail and check out any return call, you know. But I would like to say about our last play, Memory Lane, the message in that is accept help. Ask for help and accept it when it's offered. So often we say, no, I can do it. That's all right, whatever. Ask for help and be ready to accept it when it's offered, and then become aware of all the resources in the community. And we have these resources at our plays with tables and information, and then connect with a caregiver group. Don't do this alone. No. It will wear you out.
Linda Goldman, you are a gem. You're an absolute gem. You are a gift to this world. You're certainly a gift to seniors and a gift to the arts. And I thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart, from all of your viewers and listeners and people who you've touched. Thank you so much for being with us today on Always Ageless. You are truly always ageless.
Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.